Hey guys, welcome back to SLT Learning, and this is Ankit Prajapati, your QA trainer, and today we're gonna talk about the part 4 for another 10 questions for Playwright interview for automation engineer. Okay, so far we have covered 13 questions and we're gonna add 10 more questions, so that it will be total 40, and you will see the variety of different questions that can be asked when you appear for the Playwright interview for automation engineer. Okay, so let's we go to the that next slide and see what are the 10 new questions that we're gonna talk about today. So difference between new page and new context, then what is the way to find the multiple elements from the locators, then how to use the explicit wait, right? If they will ask you, okay, are you able to use the explicit wait in Playwright, and how you can answer based on that questions. Then how to verify element like CSS color and all those things, like the CSS selector elements. What is WebKit in Playwright? Difference between Selenium and Playwright, and what is browser context in Playwright, and what is the use of it. Then how to handle waiting mechanism. What are the some debugging tool? This is the crucial one. What are the different debugging tool in a Playwright, and how to run Codegen in Playwright. So Codegen debugging tool, then WebKit, then I will just say how to work with the context and page. That is the key area of this particular video. Okay, so let's say what is the difference between new page and new context. So I will just say in a Playwright, right, you always remember the thing is work will be you always have one browser, then in that browser you create a new context, and for that new context you will create a new page. So understand like that way, browser will come first, then context, then page. Okay, so what we will do, the it will create a new tab for a default context. Okay, so when you says new page, it will create a new tab, and in that new tab you will launch your application and do your automation activity, your test case run and all those things. What is the benefit of that new context and the new page? That will share the same local cookies, local storage and session information. So that is the one useful things. So when you are doing the multiple tab with the same login, you can utilize that particular part. Okay, now browser dot new context and context dot new page, that means it will isolate. If you have a new context for page 1 and the page for page 2, you use the same context, that means you are sharing the cookies and local information. But when you have context 1 over here, I have displayed the real-time example. When you have context 1 for the new page and context 2 for the new page, that new page 2, that means these two users are separate. They cannot share the cookies, local storage and session information. Okay, so always make sure, if you are using, if I am going to use the context 1 over here, context 1 dot new page for user 2, that means they are sharing. But over here we are creating a separate context for the separate page for the browser, that means they are not sharing the cookie, session and local storage. So this is the key things. Browser come first, then context, then new page. Okay, it will create, like if you go with like that way, it will create a new isolated browser context, act like a separate user, right? Even though if you have two same machine, you have two browser, two Google Chrome open, but if you have two different contexts, they will act like a separate user or a browser. This is the great use of the cross browser testing. Okay, if you want to use multiple login with the multiple rights and you want to do the cross browser testing, this is the way you can use it. Okay, so let's go with this one, new page and new context difference. So same user, multiple tabs means new page, that is not considered as a new context because same user using the multiple tab. Separate user and separate login, yes, that is a new context example. Isolated testing session, that is a new context example. Simulated mobile and language, that is a new context example. Okay, so when we have a separate things which are not sharing, that means we have a separate context for that one. And we are, when we are sharing the for between the two user, means the new page but for the same context. Okay, so the next question will be how you find multiple elements, like the locator collections. Okay, if you want to find a multiple, like in Selenium we have find elements and find element, right? Two things. When we use the find elements, it will give the list of the element. So what is the way in a Playwright? So in Playwright there is no separate command like a locator and locators. you can only use locator, and if it is returning the list of the element, you need to store accordingly. If it is returning the single element, then you need to utilize accordingly. It is depend on you. There is no separate things like locators or locator in Playwright. It's only one thing, space dot locator. So over here you see, use the locator to find a multiple element. So suppose if I using this variable items, and I'm just using this locator page dot locator, and this is my class dot list item, so it will give me and return find all the element matching with the list dot item. Okay, and it will be stored in the collection like a list of elements. It is, if it will return a single element, then it will store the single element. So it's depend on you. Okay, and how you can contain the count, how you can calculate the count, you can just say items dot count, and it will return the count to you. And based on that, this is the simple for loop you can run, and you can extract the information based on the for loop. The tags contents, if you remember, we have seen in our past video inner tags, inner HTML, and all those things. This is how you can run the for loop, and you can fetch the element information. So in Playwright there is no separate things like to collect the locators or element, multiple elements. It's the same thing. You can use page dot locator, and locator will return the collection of matching element, and using the nth dot I, like nth dot I, you can find the context. You can fetch the tags or contents of that particular element. Okay, you can look through all the matching, like when you are running the for loop, you can also apply certain logic, right? If you want to fetch the matching element, you can go and find the matching element accordingly, like await row dot all, then sync in sync element, right? So you can apply the different way. You can write the method, and it will be only log the it will only, I will just say, is the print in the console the method which are the matching with the element. Okay, so from the row, like constant row of elements, so it will find the matching element. If it is matching with the context for this element, it will print row dot text content, it will print that information. Okay, so this is how you can also, like, this is a constant, so table tr, so if it is matching with the table tr locator, okay, then it will be print into, so all the tr means table row, all the row will be printed over here. Okay, and the same way you can go with the row count, and based on the row count you can print the text content, and that's why text content, inner text will be useful. Okay, the similar way, if you want to filter the matching element, you can use the dot filter. Okay, so suppose contents dot visible element page dot locator, this is the list, and filter has a text active, so you want to print or you want to fetch only active elements, I will just say. So has text active, so if that particular locator has a text active in the CSS, it will be considered and it will be fetched under the visible items. Similar way, product name. Okay, so locator dot product, our locator dot name, so you want to fetch all the product name from the product and the name field. Okay, so this is how you can filter as well. You can use filter accordingly. Assert or interact with the multiple elements. How you can assert and interact with the multiple element? So await expect page dot locator dot error to have count 3, means you should be have three messages or 3 locators which has dot error element into that. Okay, dot error class or dot error method over there. Okay, await page dot locator dot buttons means it will have a class, dot means class and button, right? And you will gonna click on the second button. Okay, sorry, you will click on the third button. It will always start with a 0, so 0 1 2, you gonna click on the third button over here. Okay, so this is the way simple you use the locator to find a list of element. You can apply, you can look through with the matching element, you can filter it, you can assert it, right? And they are this different shortcut over here. Get all the matching element, page dot locator and the class name, then get count of the element, await locator dot count, access specific one, then you can go with the locator dot nth one, loop through, you can apply loop let one I is equal to 0, I equal to I plus plus, and filter based on the text. Filter has a text is equal to specific text. Okay, so the next question will be how to use explicit wait in Playwright. Okay, so explicit wait you can use using the wait for. There is a one command using a wait for. Most of the times in a Playwright you no need to provide that information, because Playwright itself have a auto wait concept, and it will be wait for certain element to be visible, enabled, and I will just clickable, then and then you can perform the operation. Okay, but suppose if you want to add it to be a more precise, you want to add those information, those condition, what you can do, so you can apply this different syntax, like wait for the element to appear. That means page dot locator, this is the id of username, dot wait for state to visible, means the state of the element will be become visible, then perform the next action. Okay, wait until the element become visible. Default time for the playwright will be 30 seconds. Then again we have different state, like attached, present in a DOM, then visible on a screen, hidden or removed, detached means removed from the DOM. So these are the different status we can, or different state you can validate when you are working with the explicit wait. Okay, wait for URL to change, means wait for URL to change to hyphen dashboard, you can utilize this one. Then wait for network response, if you are hitting to any API, right, and you want like making the further action, before making the further action, what you can do, you can wait for response to status equal to 200, means you can wait for the response to be get is equal to 200, then and then you can perform the other operation. Okay, wait for specific timeout, this is simple, wait for timeout 300 means 3 seconds, but this is a hardcore time, even though element is visible or element is interactable, this will wait for 3 seconds, so it is not recommended. So you can always use the auto wait or the wait for this particular condition as explicit wait. Okay, then wait for element to have specific tags. Let's suppose I am waiting for the welcome tags. Okay, so await expect page dot locator h1, this particular tag should have a tags welcome. So I am waiting for this particular locator h1 to have a tags called welcome. Okay, this will wait until the text will appear, no need to add any manual or extra wait. Okay, so explicit wait, I will just say in a simple term, you can use using the wait for, and you can provide the different conditions and wait for state, wait for text, and something like that way it will help you to do that things. Okay, and let's quickly see this particular block. So task wait for element visible, that means locator dot wait for state visible, wait for page navigation, page dot wait for navigation, these are the command can be used. Wait for the network or API response, that means wait for a response. Wait for text, expect locator dot to have a text and the text information. Okay, so the next question will be how to verify the CSS color of the element. Okay, how you can fetch the color of the element, let's suppose the background and border information, other information, how you can do that and how you can evaluate that information. So for that one, let's say get and verify CSS color, like color, this is the tag. Okay, this is the attribute name that it says. So constant color page dot locator my element dot evaluate window get computer style event dot color, this will fetch the color. Okay, and then you can print that color into the console. So this will print the color of this particular element by using this command get computed style event for this evaluate and then dot color. Okay, so this is the method, this is the command you need to use, windows dot get evaluate style event dot color. Now if you want to say border color, then dot border color. Okay, and then dot background. So these are the three things: color, background, and border color. You can fetch that information and store in this particular value, border color and bg color and then you can put the assertion. You can just, it says import expect color to be RGB. You always make sure the color things. Okay, why I'm specific to the color of CSS selector, because in color, if you want to validate, right, in a assertion mode, then you need to always go with the RGB mode. Okay, you need to go with this particular information and you need to provide that information in this context. Okay, so you can find whatever the color you have on your website, you can find the RGB value and then you can just say expect bg color to be RGB and the value of those three things. Okay, this will be always useful. So just make sure how you can validate the color property of the element, background color and the background color and the border color. Okay, always use window dot get computed style to get the final render CSS value. Do not use element dot style dot color, it only show the inline styles. So always use this one, windows window dot get computed style. If you speak this word, it is more than enough for them to understand you know the answer. Okay. What is a WebKit in Playwright? So we all know, right? We have Chromium, Firefox, different things. But what is WebKit? Sometimes people will get confused. Okay, so WebKit is nothing. It just I will just say is the browser engine which used by Safari and developed by Apple. So if you want to do your automation right in a Safari browser, then you no need to use Chromium or Firefox for Google Chrome and Firefox. You can use WebKit, and that will help you to do the automation on the Safari browser. So you can see the engine I have displayed over here. Chromium will use for Chrome, Edge and Brave. Then Mozilla Firefox and WebKit will be used for Safari. And how you can launch this one? It is the same way, the way you launch the Chrome and all those things. Context browser await WebKit.launch headless mode is equal to false. Then from browser create context, from context create page, and from page you can use all the method. Okay. Difference between Selenium and Playwright, this is something you might be looking for, but let me give you some brief about that things, and I will also tell you few of the points when to use Playwright and when to use Selenium. Okay, so over here we have features and capability, and this is Selenium side and this is Playwright side. So language support, I will just say is both support most of the languages. Then browser support, the same thing, both support most of the browsers. Architecture, it's a web driver based and it's native binding to the browser engine faster. This is that's why it is already like it's work on a node, so it will be already binded to the actual browser, right? So it will be the faster than the Selenium. Cross browser testing, yes, is possible, and yes, included WebKit, Safari as well. Headless mode, both support headless mode. Auto wait, this is the drown back parallel executions. In Selenium you don't have auto wait, you need to use implicit wait or explicit wait, and over here we have built-in auto wait things and assertion and actions. Manual thread setup, you need to do the thread setup in testng.xml for parallel executions. Over here you no need to do any extra effort, it will be built in for the parallel executions. Mobile emulated, yes, but it is limited, but over here it's better mobile and device emulation. Shadow DOM support, this will support limited and this will fully native support. So you can just put these lines whenever you see this cross mark or this warning sign, you will consider those are the key difference between the Selenium and Playwright. Multiple tab and context, complicated, sometimes window handling will become complicated. Over here it's very easy. Screenshot and video recording, you require to install too many plugins. Over here it's built-in test runner, you need to include JUnit, test runner and PyTest and all those things to run with the Selenium, but over here we have a built-in test runner for the Playwright. So these are the key difference. Always remember to remark this cross one and this warning one in your answer. Other things will be look like similar, so when they ask you the difference, you will go with the difference. Okay. When to use Playwright? You want to fast when you want to fast and modern reliable test with auto waiting for the application, you can use Playwright. When you need to test using the WebKit like Safari browser, you can go with the Playwright. When you want built-in I will just say parallelism and device simulation, you can go with the Playwright. And these are the simple things. And when you want to use Selenium, you are working with Java, C# or other language not fully supported by Playwright, you already have a large or mature Selenium framework, then you can go with the Selenium. You need legacy browser support, Internet Explorer, then you can also go with the Selenium. Okay. So modern UI testing across Chrome, Safari and Firefox, you can go with the Playwright. Legacy web testing with wide language support, you can go with Selenium. Mobile emulation, API mocking, fast execution, you can go with the Playwright. Enterprise environment with existing test infra, you can go with the Selenium. So these are the key things. You can just go through these points and make sure you prepare your answer accordingly. Okay. Then what are the browser contexts in Playwright and what is the useful? So I told you, right, we have seen these things in couple of previous question as well. What is a context? What is a browser context? That is will help you to give you the the facility to use as an isolated session for your automation testing, right? It will be like a incognito private window on your browser. Okay, when you open in incognito mode the Chrome, right, it will be have a separate session, separate cookies, separate browsing history and all those things. Okay, it allow you to run multiple session like the different user on the same browser instant, even they each share their own cookies, cache and storage. Okay, so example of creating a context and page, we all know, first we will need to import the Chromium, then we need a browser, then from browser we have a context, and from context we have a page. Okay, this is when you create a context, browser.new context, it will create a new isolated session. Okay, and this example we have already seen for two users, context 1 for user 1 for browser and context 2 for user 2 to create a new page. Okay, use case for the context browser will be test multiple user in parallel mode, each context separate login session, avoid state leakage. Okay, you no need to worry about isolated, no need to worry about cookies and sessions and storage, it will be isolated for each and every context. Run test faster, so you will have a separate isolated browsers or isolated instance that will help to run your execution more faster than the comparing the same using the same tab or same browser instance. Okay, simulate different devices or locate, so it will help you to simulate the each context can be emulate the device, time zone and the language separately. Clean environment means you will have a fresh session, fresh cookies and fresh I will just storage, then it will be considered as a clean environment, clean browser environment for your testing. Okay, so this is the useful of the browser context in Playwright. How does you handle the waiting mechanism, right? So first things, we have auto wait for couple of actions in Playwright. So this is the inbuilt things. Okay, you no need to worry about like the few actions to be automatically waited, like element to be visible, be enabled and be stable. So these three things, it will be auto weighted in Playwright, so you no need to worry. Then you can use explicit wait when you require like state to be visible for the element, you can use the explicit wait that we have just seen in one of the question as well. Wait for navigation, if you want to wait for URL to be loaded successfully, you can just say wait for URL to load. Then wait for element to have a text, then you can go wait for that specific text as well. Timeout and custom wait, you can also put wait for timeout. This is not recommended as I told you, but you can use it if you require. Okay, wait for conditions, then JS pooling, you can wait for the certain condition to be applied. Then if you want to set a global timeout wait, you can set up the global timeout wait in a playwright.config.ts file. You can just say timeout 300 and action timeout will be 500, means will be the 500 second for the click and fill and all those auto actions. Okay, so method like auto wait will be automatically wait for element clicking, filling and typing actions. Explicit wait for element to be visible, to be attached to the DOM and all those things. Waiting for the navigation, like after redirection and after login, mainly you use page.wait for URL. Expect base wait means text visible, text count, element count, those kind of things you will wait for to have a text visible and all those things. Timeout wait, temporary delay, page.wait for timeout, those are the things you can use for the waiting mechanism. Okay, so these are the different way you can answer your questions in the interview. What are the some key debugging tools in Playwright? Yeah, this is again one of the crucial questions, how you can run the test in a debug mode to debug the case when it got failure. Okay, so what you can do, it's very simple. You can use pw playwright debug is equal to 1 whenever you run your test case. This is the test case command, right, and px playwright test. But before that, if you put this one, playwright debug is equal to 1, and you execute your when you hit enter, it will open in a debug mode. Like in Selenium, we normally put the debug point and we run in a, we right click and run as a debug. It will be do the same action, it will run on a debug mode and it will pause on each and every steps. It will open a browser in headed mode, show the locators highlight, and you can go step by step to see your actions and you can troubleshoot your failure test cases. Okay, then we will have playwright inspector launch automatically when you do this. pwb debug is equal to 1, playwright inspector will launch automatically. It will show the visual tool to step through the action and all the locators. You can show the element info and code that is running step by step in your code editor. You can also use page pause, that will be pause the element on specific step. Open a Playwright inspector, let your, and it will be also open the Playwright inspector and let your export from that particular steps page dot pause, and it will pause that on that particular step, and you can continue your executions. Trace viewer, this is one of the things you can enable the tracing to see the screenshot, actions, log and timing of those information. You can enable in the playwright.config.ts. You can put this line, use trace on first retry or retain on failure. These are the two options you can use, and you can configure this for your project for all your test cases. And once this is configured, you can just say npx playwright show trace and trace.zip. It will display the list of the trace or the all the logs and action and screenshot and video it has taken into the trace.zip, and you can unzip this one and you can go through it for your debugging. Okay, then capture that screenshot and videos on by configuring these two things in your playwright.config.ts. Screenshot is equal to only on failure, video is retained on failure. These are the two things you can put. Again, another way to debug, you can put the message, or you can write down on the console.log whenever some action will be happen in if else condition or in try catch block. You can put these things, console message is equal to console.log browser log message dot text. This will be take the browser information and it will be pinned into the text. So console message page dot on console message will log the message from the browser. Okay, it will take the browser information and it will put the message and the error message from the browser. Then browser development tool console, this is the this is something we go with the in our Chrome, right? About and setting, and we go to the development tool. This is the same thing, it will be turned on. So what you need to do when you turn on the browsers, then just define chromium.launch headless dev tool is equal to true. That means it will load the in a inspect mode, and you can go through from there, and step by step you can debug your code accordingly. Okay, so first one will be the debug mode, pwd debug is equal to 1, then it will be from the inspector, then page.pose, then you can use the stress viewer, then you can use the screenshot and videos, you can use console logs, and you can use the browser development tool. These are the some key things to debug your code in a Playwright. Okay, and the last question from the today, that is very crucial, how you run the code gen in Playwright, right? So the code gen, what is code gen? The code gen is powerful feature of the Playwright which help you to automatically generate the code from your actions by recording it. It's a kind of recording tool. Okay, like in Selenium we have Selenium IDE where we record the things and then we generate the code. The same way it will help you to record the things and generate the code. How you can run the code gen command? So simple, npx playwright code gen and the URL of your application, and when you hit enter, it will launch this URL in a default browser along with the code gen, and whatever the steps you perform, whatever the clicks you do, each and everything it will be get recorded and converted into the code in a real time. So this is very useful when you start with the Playwright. You mostly start with this code gen, and where you can see your code on a different browser using the and you can also generate this code in a different programming language. It is not about you can generate only on a TypeScript or in a JavaScript. You can also export the same steps, same code in a Java, in a Python and C# or anything. Okay, so this is really useful things, and they might ask you how you can use it. So npx playwright code gen, then application URL, very simple. Okay, so what will happen once you will run this one? A browser open and navigate to the URL. A separate Playwright code generator window will open to display the live code. As you interact with the website, click, type or any action you perform, each and every action will be get recorded and it will be displayed in a live code, and it will be generate code in JavaScript by default, but you can change the language by using this command. You see, npx playwright code gen hyphen target Python. So I need a code in Python. npx I need a code in Java. npx I need a code in C#. So this is how you can generate the code in a different languages. And what are the additional options you can see using the code gen? You can just say target language, that you know, you can set up the language, then save storage.state.json, save the login session and all those information. You can use this one. Then device, you can also use Codegen hyphen device iPhone 13. So it will emulate in a mobile device. Okay, it will open that particular website in a mobile device. Okay, and you can also set up the language, which language you want to set up, like the France, Germany, or English, or US English, UK English. You can also set up the browser language using the Codegen. So this is really useful tool, guys. When you start with the Playwright, you can always use these things, but these are the questions they're gonna ask: how you can launch the Codegen, and how you can change the language in the Codegen, and how you can set up the device information or language when you are using the Codegen. So these are the few context or few syntax you need to make sure you know these things, and you can write accordingly based on the questions they ask in the interview. Okay, so these are the another list of questions that we have covered in this particular playlist, Playwright question and answer for automation engineer. If you want to practice, or if you want to do the mock call with our expert, okay, you can let us know. You can call us and we can schedule a call for a video interview. That will help you to gain the confidence when you are appear in a real interview. And if you like this video, if you are watching this video, please share to your team, please share to your colleagues, and please like to my please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you will get the new video soon. Okay.